This is Duke University.
Hi everyone, welcome to Wednesdays at the Franklin Center. Today's presentation will be led by members of the Alternative Fall Break Trip, which was co-sponsored by the Women's Center and the Baldwin Scholars. My name is Arthi Thacker, and this past October I traveled with 9 other Duke students to Apopka, Florida, in a 4-day immersive experience to learn and understand more about the daily lives and trials of Hispanic immigrants in the United States. All of the work we did was based out of the Hope Community Center, which has served as a refuge and a resource in Apopka for many immigrants since 1971. During our stay, we participated in a number of workshops with the local community, such as finding one's voice, stress management, and English lessons. We lived with local families who were members of the center, which allowed us to have more personal interactions with them and hear their stories. Today, we will be sharing our experience in the form of pictures, monologues, and song. The first monologue is written and presented by Leslie Nero, class of 2016 from Herman, Missouri. I will be reading a monologue written by Karina Santiano, class of 2015 from San Diego, California. The final monologue was written by Jacqueline Dobbies, class of 2015 from Albany, New York, but will be read by Lexia Chadwick, class of 2015 from Dallas, Texas. Lexia will also be singing a song, I'm Here, from The Color Purple. Arpita Varghese, from Kerala, India, will be conducting a Four Corners activity, which we will explain to you more later. Thank you all for joining us today. We hope you enjoy today's presentation.
Hi, my name is Reem, and in the background during the presentation there will be a PowerPoint of a bunch of pictures that we took on the trip. And so as you're listening to the monologues and everything, be sure to also pay attention to the PowerPoint. Thank you.
Sorry, I don't like to be tethered by chairs. Okay. Night begins to envelop us, surrounding us with the chirpings of frogs and nocturnal insects. Mosquitoes flock to our warm bodies, discovering our weaknesses, poking small holes in our resilience. Reem and I nervously coax our bags out of the back of the white 12-passenger van. Tonight, we will meet our host families for the very first time since our landing in Florida. It's a pretty nerve-wracking event. Their home is a tired old trailer that leans over like a little old man, and the grass in their postage stamp-sized yard is 5 inches tall, and in the middle stands a chopper-style bicycle with hints of rust. Maria knocks on the door. Tap, tap. It's a thin knock, lacking all depth. It's obvious that the wood of the door is a love child between cardboard and plywood. A tall, dark Latino man opens the door and answers her in Spanish. Reem and I lock eyes. We have to whip out all of our Spanish 203 vocabulary. Oh no. A battered tin couch and a matching faux leather chair pay homage to the television, whose screen is larger and wider than the few windows in the trailer, while an orange extension cord drapes from the ceiling like some sort of exotic snake. To the left of the TV stands a fold-up table with a stereo and a pile of English language learning CDs for Spanish speakers. Our host mother arrives 30 minutes later. Reem and I don't ever catch their names. We don't actually learn them until a day later. It's kind of embarrassing. The family, although here's our excuse, they speak a mixture of Spanish and English. The 2 boys, Eleazar and Eric, speak English. And their mother, Carmen, spends weeks and hours at the community center studying English. And their father, Eleazar Sr., could hold his Spanish or English vocabulary in his hand. Eleazar and Eric gallop through the house. Come see your room! Come see it! They're so excited. Reem follows, smiling. I go about 5 minutes later. The room is 2/3 the size of my dorm room, and that's tiny. With tired mint green walls with scrawlings that say, fuck Apopka, fuck Mexicans, fuck white people. I really don't know who wrote these. Who did it? Seriously. A textbook-sized American flag looms above a mirror that sags on the wall, and underneath that is tucked a small little Mexican flag. It's as if to say that American culture rules everything now. Nothing else matters. Screw the melting pot. Eleazar and Eric start a clapping game. Shame, shame, shame. I don't want to go back to Mexico no more, more. Later, Reem and I ask, isn't it sad that they know that name, that song? What's the shame in being from Mexico? Isn't that racist? Isn't it terrible how anti-Mexican the United States has become? Dinner is a late affair. Eliana, the baby, sits in a high chair next to her father. Carmen serves me and Reem first, then her husband, then her children, and then herself. We drink freshly crushed pineapple juice out of white styrofoam cups. Later that night, the boys leave, and we're sitting there in the room alone with this woman. And we begin to talk to them both, her husband, who tells us, I came to the United States to pick apples in Michigan. And now I'm here. I do heavy landscaping work from 9 to 5. I get paid $5 an hour. And I couldn't get a visa, so I can't go anywhere. And it's impossible. Living here is expensive. Lo que ganas, gastas. What you win, you lose. What you win, you spend. What you gain means nothing. Eleazar Sr. glances over his wife, who sighs. I feel stuck, says Carmen, her brown eyes slightly tired. Even though I learn the language, I can't advance. Our dream was not to have a house here. We were going to go back to Mexico and have one there. My husband also used to be an orange picker. He carried 70 pounds of oranges right here, in front, on his chest. Her husband walks over and shows us a tape set of English language learning CDs. I try, he says, but I really can't learn this. My job doesn't need English. It's not important. A joyous yell breaks the somber atmosphere. Eleazar and Eric run out wearing some sort of plastic breastplate and gauntlets. They look like Dollar General toys.
This monologue was written by Karina Santiano and is dedicated to her mother, Gloria Santiano. Tiene miedo, verdad? You're scared, aren't you? No, we're not scared, I said with a smile, as my host mom, Arthi, and I entered the small trailer house that was our home for a few days. Where was I? Well, I was in Apopka, Florida. Yeah, I said that right, Apopka. Apopka. A city an hour northwest of Orlando. A city I had never ever heard of in my life until then. We had just arrived at our host family's house, and I was taken aback at the reality of the lives I had just entered. The reality that I was familiar with, but had left behind at home. I had almost forgotten about since coming to Duke University. My host family and many of the other families at Hope Community Center were immigrants to the United States, most of them crossing the U.S.-Mexico border illegally. But this was not new to me. I had been around it my entire life. My mother had crossed the border illegally in her 20s. She had hired a coyote, a smuggler of people that had crossed the border so many times that she knew how to avoid border control and how to get to the United States easily. My mother says she remembers running as fast as she could. Her days as a runner when she was younger had strengthened her legs and her lungs enough to make this trip more manageable. She remembers the rain that soaked her clothes and the sand and made the sand she was running in muddy and difficult to move in. She remembers stopping to wait for the coyote to give her a hand signal to tell her the coast was clear and it was okay to keep moving forward. My petite and gentle mother was the strongest and bravest person you could ever encounter during the day she was traveling. She was a warrior. After days of praying that she would not be caught by border control, running and hiding where the coyote told her to, my mother made it safely to the U.S. When it seemed like her life was set and was reunited with my father in California, she received a phone call that requested her to go through the same process all over again. She had just married my father and became a mother when my grandmother informed her that her father, my grandfather, was dying. His lung cancer had left him weak, debilitated, and on the edge of death. Knowing she had to go to her father, my mother risked her life once more. She returned back to Mexico to say bye to her father and risked her life again to get back to my father and my brother. My mother made it safely the second time around as well. I thank my mother for her bravery every day of my life. Her desire to provide her future children with an opportunity in the United States motivates me to do well in school and make her proud. I'm at Duke because of her. I can't even begin to imagine what my life would have been like if my mother had stayed in Mexico. I don't know where I would be or what I would be doing. My mother's strength leaves me utterly speechless. My mother risked her life for me, not once, but twice. She left her country for my brothers and I. She left her family so she could be in this country. I have no words to describe how amazing my mother is and how much I look up to her. All I know is that I will make her proud. Just wait, Mama. Your efforts will not go unrewarded. I saw my mother in all the mothers I met at the community center. I saw myself in all the girls I met. I saw my life. It reminded me of home and where I came from and how far away I have removed myself from that reality. At Duke, academics are all I have to worry about. To only have that to worry about and think about on a day-to-day basis has been relieving and a nice break of sorts from home. I remember being in high school and knowing that I wanted to be far away from home so I didn't have to deal with the issues of money, immigration, and violence that I saw around me. I essentially measured success by how far away I could get from home and from the problems I no longer wanted to associate myself with. I wanted to be really far. I decided 2,500 miles away from home was a good distance. Thinking about it now, success should not be measured by how far away you can get away from home or from your struggling household and community, but instead how much you can give back to your community and how you can use what you have learned to improve it. I feel like I have grown up a lot this past year, and the alternative fall break was a helpful reminder to remember where I came from, to be proud of it, and to think about how I can go back to my community in San Diego, and of course show my mother her decision to risk her life for her family will not go unrewarded.
And now a monologue written by Jacqueline Dobies. When I was in high school, there was an application on Facebook called Bumper Sticker. People would post little photos with phrases on them that you could send to your friends or share on your profile page for everyone to see. I remember one of my favorite was a cartoon of Dora the Explorer climbing over a chain-like fence with the words "illegal immigrant" branded across her back in red letters. Another was a picture of a telephone that said, "For English, press 1. Para Español, press 2. And go back to fucking Mexico." At the time, I found them so funny. I mean, who wouldn't? Growing up, all I heard was that illegal immigrants were the people that swam or jumped the border from Mexico, never learning English, as they worked as cleaning people in New York City or orange pickers in Mexico. I had never met someone who was illegal. I had never heard their experience coming to America and what it was like to move to a country where you didn't speak the language and often weren't wanted, and didn't even have the papers to prove that you existed, or you had the right to exist. I had no problem believing that people who came here illegally should be sent back. They weren't citizens, and they were taking the jobs and opportunities of which real American citizens were in genuine need. It was simple, really. It was simple until I first traveled to Apopka, Florida on the Women's Center's alternative fall break trip. It was simple until I encountered the Hope Community Center, where I spent every day with undocumented citizens, immersed in their culture and hearing their stories.
My teachers at school tell me that I'm stupid and will never do well because I'm Mexican.
I can't take more than one class a semester at college because I don't have the papers to get in-state tuition. But I'm going to school because I want to become a math teacher.
I came to America because I wanted to give my child a better life. But America isn't what we thought.
She had a 3.9 GPA in high school and received a scholarship to cover 75% of her college costs. But she can't accept it due to lack of citizenship papers.
It was simple until I started to question why the random chance of my birth in America made me more of a human being than the people around me. Because I possessed the papers to prove my U.S. citizenship, which gave me the exclusive rights to life, liberty, and happiness in the United States. This trip hit me like a Mack truck. How could it not? Every day I heard more and more about the lives and experiences of people who I had once believed to be illegal. Someone on the trip even said to me, "No human being is legal. It makes them the other." What traveling to Apopka did for me was to deconstruct the idea of the other that I had always been taught. It's easy to hate someone you don't know. It's easy to fight against the DREAM Act when you don't understand or you don't know the people who will suffer as a result because their college dreams will never be realized. It's easy to support restrictive immigration legislation when you don't know the families who live in fear of the midnight raids designed by ICE, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, to catch and deport the fathers who toil endlessly long days as migrant farm workers. Why am I telling you all of this? Because one of the women I met on the trip told me that you cannot hate someone whose story you don't know. And once you've shared in someone else's story, you can never forget it. I will never forget my host family the first time I went to Apopka, and how I was entirely reliant on the people who I'd once never cared about for food, shelter, and transportation. I will never forget our shared vulnerability, mine from this utter dependence, and theirs from the undocumented status, as they trusted me, a stranger, with this weighty and incriminating information. What if I had outed them? That they must have considered that, but chose instead to tell me one late night the story of their dangerous journey when they were only 13 and 11 years old through Mexico to America. I will never forget realizing the hopes and dreams that we share, the ways we are so similar and yet so different. The gulf of citizenship papers, a seemingly permanent separation between us, diverging our lives in the U.S. Get into our shoes and walk with us. Struggle with our struggle, someone once told me at Apopka. I have accepted this challenge and call each and one of you guys to do the same. Biologically speaking, humans are creatures made for coalition and community. Our brains contain mirrored neurons, cells that cause us to mirror and reflect the actions and lives of others around us. I challenge you to be this example for others to reflect, to work for social justice, and to create social change. Get into our shoes and walk with us. Struggle with our struggle.
So now that everyone has a general idea of what the experience was, here's the transformative part. I am startled by what I see and hear that night. Reem and I stay up until well past 1 a.m. talking about the sense of hopelessness and inequality we feel in Apopka. For me, I say to Reem, this is a totally different experience. I have never experienced poverty, nor known what it looked like, what it felt like to be there. And now we're here. A cockroach crawls up the wall. Both Reem and I just shudder. Reem admits that she too has never been in a situation like this, where people said that other people couldn't do things because they weren't real members of society. We both pause. We're both Duke students, and we chose to be here for fall break. We will escape this reality, but our host family will not. They are stuck here. Before this, these non-people were just the hands that harvested the oranges, the numbers of people crossing the border, the illegals who were accused of stealing our jobs. They were a story, a phrase, and a group of people who seemed so distant from our privileged reality. I knew nothing of the immigrant experience before I went to Apopka on alternative fall break with the Women's Center. I grew up 5 miles outside of a small, rural, predominantly white, Christian and Republican Missourian town, the show me state. Show me your papers. At school, I knew that some people were poorer than others, but it was never something that really hit me. In high school, I drove by a trailer park every single day. I saw the kids waiting at the bus stop in the rain in these tattered jackets, and it never once occurred to me that poverty was right there, 3 minutes away from my house. I heard the anti-Mexican jokes in the hallways. When I was younger, I did actually play the I don't want to go back to Mexico no more game, and it meant nothing to me until I went to Apopka. The crazy thing is, there are no social or political limitations on what I can do. I got my license at 16, yeah. I voted in the 2012 election, empowerment. My primary employment is being a full-time college student. For me, being in a position where I'm limited by my race or citizenship status is totally foreign and alien. I have never been constantly marginalized by society or called illegal. I have never truly experienced relative poverty. But that night in Apopka, I experienced sensory overflow and tasted the bitterness of marginalization and hopelessness. I realized then that by basing judgments about people off numbers, the statistics of illegals who don't have documents, we take away the personal histories of this collection of people with different experiences. It's like saying, you're just a number. You are not who you think you are. You do not deserve your own personality. You are a number that I can manipulate in an equation. I can reduce you, I can find your limits, and I can eliminate you. Here in Apopka, I know that those aren't actual numbers. Those are people.
Hi guys, I'm Lexia Chadwick. I'm going to be singing a song called I'm Here, and it's from The Color Purple. And what I really like about this song is when I went to Apopka, I've met all these women who are so beautiful. They came from another country and they worked here. They worked trying to learn the language, trying to learn the customs and everything else that was so American that we really take for granted. And one thing that I really saw was that I don't know, like the monologue I read, we're so different yet so close. I saw my mom and a lot of those people, because even though we're not immigrants, we're fully born and raised here. By virtue of being black, I feel like in some sense, I could understand the marginalized feeling. I can understand the people looking down on you or expecting certain things or not expecting certain things from you. And when I saw in all these women were that those life had given them so much, they still had the audacity to believe they still deserve more. They still wanted more, and we're gonna go forth with it. So that's kind of what this song says and means for me. I'm gonna take a deep breath. I'm gonna hold my head up, gonna put my shoulders back and look him straight in the eye. I'm gonna flirt with somebody when they walk by. I'm gonna sing out, sing out. I believe that I have inside of me everything that I need to live a bountiful life with all the love alive in me. I'll stand as tall as the tallest tree, and I'm thankful for every day that I'm given, for the easy and hard ones I'm living. But most of all, I'm thankful for loving who I really am. 'Cause I'm beautiful, yes, I'm beautiful.
produced by Duke University, online at duke.edu.